get ready for match number 4 with Muzzy versus Eddie. As you can see, these are the lineups that are at the bottom of the screen. We don't have the bans in yet, so we don't know what's going to pan out. But, I mean, Muzzy has been banning Demon Hunter against his opponents. And we'll see if Eddie continues to, be able to stay the course. But I did see him falter a little bit more than usual in that previous series he played against Saiyan. It felt uncharacteristically, at times, it felt like he was directionless.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a really harsh way to say it. If I could probably choose a word, I'd probably say that he stumbled a couple of times. But, a couple of turns, it was like I wasn't sure where he was going, and I don't think he knew exactly where he was going. And it was a really awkward result, particularly on that Spell Druid game. So as long as he can avoid those kinds of moments when it matters, because I think that matchup didn't really matter much, so that's why I'm not going to be too harsh on him. I still think Eddie is one of the best players in Americas. By a decent margin.
Yeah.
And I really respect his play, but you can't really mess up like that against a player of Muzzy's caliber.
No, definitely can't. And you can take a look at Muzzy's decks: Combo Demon Hunter, Spell Druid, Aggro Warrior. He also has a Highlander Mage. Looks like Highlander Mage was banned. Not one of the more popular bans, but still up there. Was banned in close to 15% matches in Americas, which puts it in the same realm as Hunter and Druid and Warrior. So looks like Eddie afraid of that one. And we'll see what was banned away from Eddie's side. Looks like his Priest. Wait, does he have Priest? Yeah, his Priest was banned away. So Resurrect Priest. So Eddie bans the Highlander Mage, Combo Demon Hunter, Spell Druid, Galakron Warlock. That seems interesting. His Spell Druid seems like it would have a good matchup against the Mage. So does his Combo Demon Hunter, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong there with the Combo Demon Hunter, though.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take it game by game here. But at the beginning, we're going to start things off with Druid Mirrors. Druid Mirrors, this one can be really fast. Really, really fast. Especially if they are identical deck lists, which I believe they are not, because Eddie does have, for example, 2 exotic Mount Sellers versus only 1 for Muzzy, and Eddie has cards like Nourish. So we'll see how that ends up panning out here. I personally like the more lean version of Muzzy, because Eddie has several one-ofs in the deck that I totally understand why he wants to play things like Wild Growth and Nourish. However, I do like more consistency out of the Druid, because I want it to just be very good at what it does. And so that way I'm never hurt like, oh, I really wish I had the second, Power of the Wild here instead of Eddie has only 1. Overall, though, I think that it'll still be determined by who can get out onto the board early and cement that lead.
Yeah, both players have early Fungal Fortunes and no ramp. So,
right.
But those Fungal Fortunes will, likely pick up ramp, especially from Eddie's perspective, who just has more ramp in general than most of the decks we've seen, as you pointed out, with both Wild Growth and Nourish. But it seems like Nourish is used. Eddie looked like he wanted to use that for card draw more so than anything, to kind of keep the train rolling once he starts with Kael'thas. Oof. There's the exotic Mount Seller gone from Muzzy.
Yeah, that definitely stinks, because you wouldn't want to hold on to it. But I gotta say that I haven't seen too many matchups really be determined by a Mount Seller. It's been a lot of times like a Glowfly Swarm that doesn't really get answered, and then you just run away with the board state. That being said, if that doesn't work out for Muzzy and his Kael'thas whiffs or it gets answered, then Muzzy doesn't really have too much more of a game plan behind that, largely because Mount Seller is like another layer of threats. So I wonder if that's going to come to play this game. In the meantime, Eddie just gonna draw 4 cards. Drew both.
Oh! All right, so I would definitely rather have a Kael'thas than an exotic Mount Seller. So in the War of Fungal Fortunes, Muzzy comes out on top, even though both players discarded a minion.
Wow.
Though Eddie does have ramp, and Muzzy does not.
Right. You're correct about that. Muzzy does have the Glowfly Swarm, though.
Yeah, that's true. It can be picked apart, though.
Slightly.
He has Crystal Power, he has Bog Beam. I guess that's it, right? Because that's the only amount of mana that he has.
Right.
But he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. Bad luck Albatross.
Oh, I mean...
That ruins the fungal fortunes.
Yeah.
I guess Muzzy already played one, so it's less important. I think it might be worth using this Moonfire to convert into a minion. Eddie has already lost his Kael'thas, so saving cheap minions to get the third spell for free isn't going to be nearly as impactful. So I'd like him to at least explore the idea. That said, he still has another exotic Mount Seller, so he could be holding on to an alternative game plan in case that falls through.
Mm-hmm.
How much damage is this, by the way? This is 10 on the board, plus 12 from Savage Roar, plus 5. So that's 27.
Whew, that's close.
Yeah, if Eddie didn't kill one more minion, would have been game over.
Mm-hmm. But now that you don't have lethal, what's the game plan? Because if you're not killing your opponent, then you don't really want to leave this Mount Seller up, but you also don't want to put in that many resources into killing the Mount Seller, do you?
Right. This is your only Savage Roar, right?
Yes. Though, Muzzy does have next turn, he can go off with Kael'thas because he has Kael'thas Innervate Crystal Power Overflow, which will likely... and double Bog Beam. No, you can't. The Bog Beams won't be active.
Right. I think from Muzzy's perspective, Savage Roar got a lot of value here, and
sure, yeah.
While you would like to finish, it's really not the most important aspect of it. It's just that a lot of times you can. And for Muzzy says, I saw Kael'thas already dead, and I have Kael'thas in hand, and I have Overflow. Like, I don't need to rush this. Yeah, he could have set his opponent to 2 life and been like, well, yeah, I can like try to threaten from the rest of the game, but there's no pressure being applied by his opponent's threat of Kael'thas swing turns. He knows that the most that Eddie can do is more exotic Mount Seller pressure, and that's it. He's already dealt with 1.
There's also no direct damage in the deck outside of Moonfire. So, and the hero power. So putting him at 2 doesn't really do much, especially with Crystal Power just existing and also Overflow. But
precisely.
Glowfly Swarm would summon 5?
Yeah, it looks like that. No, summon 6. It's a full board.
No, there's only 5 spells.
You are right. I count the Mount Seller as a spell for some reason. Funny enough, if the roles were reversed, Muzzy would be drawing the Albatross from his deck.
Yeah.
With the Silence Pride.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about that.
If he only had 1 more mana.
For Muzzy?
Yeah.
Well, he has the Kael'thas.
He can go off with Kael'thas this turn, but what I'm saying is, like, he would have a more consistent pop-off if he had 1 more mana.
You don't think he draws a 0-mana spell? I guess he's not at 7 mana.
The only 0-mana spell he has is Moonfire and Innervate.
Right.
Which, judging by the aggressive head scratch, he did not pick up.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There might have been merit there to waiting another turn.
Yeah, that didn't pan out really well. He had 19 cards in his deck. He drew 5. There was... Did he use an Innervate already? He did.
What?
So he only had 2 hits. That's a pretty low percentage.
Yeah.
Relative to where you want it to be.
Actually, he only had 1 hit. It's showing that... Oh, never mind. Forget what I said.
I supply only the finest.
This is a very unusual game. I think Muzzy may have realized it himself that this probably was a little bit overkill. And now, There's another. Albatross. That's actually oh, that was another thing too. There's albatrosses in his deck that could make his draws more awkward.
Yeah. Now he has 4.
Yep.
3.
He really wants to deal with this exotic Mount Seller. He has to commit.
He can go
both
Glowfly
Bog
Swarm.
Beams.
He can go Glowfly Swarm, double Bog Beam, Crystal Power.
It's true. And I think that's his best play. It's kind of sad he still can't play things like Power of the Wild onto this board. Especially because there's a 3 health, 3 attack minions.
Yeah.
Is it weird to think that Eddie might be ahead? I don't think so. I don't think he is.
No, I don't think he is, just because he doesn't have Kael'thas anymore.
Right, and he lost. This is his second Mount Seller.
The second Mount Seller. So he has a Glowfly Swarm in his deck, and that's it.
Right, because Eddie cut the Forest Aid.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. He's going for the aggressive game plan.
Okay.
All right, so he says, you're just gonna have to clean this up because I'm pressuring you for potential lethal.
Yeah, what this also does is makes so he can soul the forest and maybe clean up while still preserving a board next turn. But it doesn't account for the fact that Eddie could draw cards and start clearing.
Yeah, this is a pretty dramatic board swing. I don't think this is going to work out for Muzzy the way he wanted it to. He's seeing the Nourish. He knows that there's a lot of card draw sources in the deck. That's what he cut his Forest Aid for. And Muzzy looks stressed. I think he's really unhappy to see the way Eddie's been able to respond to this. It felt like Muzzy was in a really good position to run away with this game. And Eddie's done a fantastic job to fight back here.
Yep. Still not out of the woods yet, though, from Eddie's perspective, because he can't clear off all of these. He can clear off, what, 3 more maximum, and that's if he uses Wrath for 3, and then Hero Powers down another one and trades over with the Mount Seller, which it looks like he's going to do, just trying to minimize as much as possible.
Right.
So Muzzy can clear up the exotic Mount Seller with a Soul of the Forest this turn. If he wants to, he can also add in a Ratros to that Soul of the Forest pool.
Forest's Aid. Yeah, and based off the way this panned out, it looks like the risk that Muzzy took wasn't even that big of a risk. I mean, I like his line of thinking here.
Yeah.
Extending the power of his throw so his brain can expand. It's actually not his hair that provides all that volume. It's the size of his galactic brain.
That's a big brain.
I wonder if he wants to start with the Fungal Fortunes, if he's not going to commit to a high mana play here, or one card to take up all his mana.
The play that stuck out to me was Albatross, Rising Winds for an Eagle, Soul of the Forest, trade 1 Glowfly Swarm into the exotic Mount Seller, and Crystal Power it.
Ah, okay, I like that play too. That's what you were talking about before.
Yeah. That's like the best on-board play. And then you get to push 6.
And you can just refill later. Because I don't think there's many cards that he could draw that would change the way that he would want to set up this board.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie can set up the Glowfly Swarm and the Soul of the Forest and Ironbark. It's entirely reasonable.
Yeah.
He knows that Savage Roar's gone and Power of the Wild's been used, or one of them rather.
Yep, 1 Power of the Wild. He also knows that Muzzy has a lot of dead draws because there's still 3 Albatross left in his deck.
Yeah, I just want to see Muzzy rip the Fungal Fortunes and draw 3 Albatross and discard them all.
I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, right? Because then that means that his average draw is just better for the rest of the game? Either way, he just gets closer.
It's pretty close to the worst thing.
No, it is the worst thing. It's absolutely the worst outcome. but it's not as bad as some other bad outcomes that I can see. Like, one bad outcome I can see is ripping Fungal Fortunes on turn 2 and discarding Kael'thas and both exotic Mount Sellers. That's a bad outcome.
Yeah, that's true. That would be the end of the world.
Ah, well, see, he drew an Albatross, so now he can only discard 2 of them max. There's one.
2-mana draw 2 is still very good.
Yeah, but what is he looking for? Power of the Wild, I guess?
Well, he can't Forest Aid this turn, so he's going to have to use his Rising Winds. That's like the only thing he could do. I wonder if he wants to summon or draw. This is so awkward.
Yeah, you just gotta keep drawing.
Yeah.
But then again...
So uncomfortable. And it looks like Muzzy's just gonna try to fight back with board, but this wasn't the best situation for Muzzy, but it doesn't seem like Eddie has too hard of a punish. Interestingly enough, it's like one of those things where if he plays another Soul of the Forest, he's losing a little bit of value because sometimes it might oversummon.
Well, he could trade in all of his tokens and then Soul of the Forest after.
That is true. And if he's going to dig deeper in his deck, what is he going to look for here?
I don't know, something to put on board to get more Soul of the Forest. Iron Bark for value trade? Here? I don't think so.
Do you even want to overflow for the rest of the game is basically what I'm asking.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Unless there's something specific he wants to hit for next turn. Which could be Gift of the Wild, maybe? He also has Power of the Wild. So that's pretty much it as far as powerful plays go. He's got an Overgrowth in his deck. He's got the second Overflow in his deck. Overflow, Overgrowth.
Right. Well, Muzzy's in an unusual spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not getting any better.
No, I don't think Muzzy wins from here.
Well, I mean, he does have health.
He has health, yeah. But I believe that was guaranteed lethal because he overflows and hits Savage Roar every time. Or overflows and hits Savage Roar almost every time. He'd have one card left in his deck. Sometimes that was exactly Savage Roar, but that'll do it.
I had forgotten that Eddie hadn't played Savage Roar yet. What a reversal that game, and I gotta say that Muzzy probably is going to be thinking about some of those plays.
Yeah.
And perhaps he doesn't regret any of them. Perhaps he feels really confident that was the right line. But the Kael'thas whiffing after you know your opponent's missing the Kael'thas feels like a really big missed opportunity.
Yeah, if he waited one more turn, he all of a sudden gets 2 Bog Beams to follow up the Fungal Fortunes with for free. His Iron Barks are activated, so he basically just gets 1 re-up for free with the Bog Beams, and the Overflow that he does play gets 2 additional chances to hit 0-mana spells. So, but you give your opponent a board for a turn, which, you know, maybe he thought he needed to go right then to try and get onto the board and be proactive, but he gets punished for it and ultimately loses the game because he just ran out of stuff. So just some of the panouts at the very end with the Albatross, you know, you can't help but laugh, especially since Muzzy's reactions, just eyes get big. Pretty funny stuff, but Eddie takes the lead.
Yeah, so that's going to be a 1-0 lead. It was kind of a grueling back and forth, but we're going to get ready to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have the conclusion of Muzzy versus Eddie to find out who will be playing Saiyan in the lower bracket finals. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
J'ai été un champion de boxe. Je joue à Hearthstone 43 heures. J'ai 11 chats.
11 cats, oh my god. 40 hours straight, like, that's totally... I mean, I wouldn't do it, but he might have.
Thum is not a guy that looks like he's boxing for 11 years. Is he?
He has 11 cats? No, he doesn't have 11 cats. Doa, he doesn't have 11 cats.
Apparently, these are all lies. None of that's separate. I don't think Thum has 11 cats.
That is correct. Tim does not have 11 cats, but he also was not a French national boxing champion. Nor has he played Hearthstone for 43 years.
Okay.
They were all lies.
Oh my god.
Zim doesn't have 11 cats. Does he?
You are correct, although the other two were also live. Apparently he was live on everything.
I was gonna say.
I don't think he does boxing, actually.
They're actually all live.
They're all lies. Yeah, I could imagine, actually. It didn't feel like any one of them was.
He is not a national boxing champion.
Well, you are correct that he's not a national boxing champion, but he does not have 11 cats, nor has he played Hearthstone for 4 years. They were all lies.
Oh, but it was a two truths, one lie.
Yeah, I know.
Rigged game.
We are back with Muzzy versus Eddie, game number 2. After that very long but eventful game number 1. I gotta say that was one of the more interesting spell druid mirrors I've seen, and I think since the expansion launched. They reminded me of the token druid days back when people would play Spreading Plague, and it would kind of create these interesting stalemates where neither player really wanted to let the other player have a board, but almost were forced to let them have it, but yet neither player could really kill each other. It was a very interesting dynamic back and forth.
Yeah. My dogs hate it though, Dan. I don't know
Your
if you
dogs
can hear them.
hate spell druid mirrors?
I don't know if you can hear them. They're growling behind me. They're playing.
Bring them on camera, TJ.
I can't. Too much setup. I told you I have a cage around me, so they don't ruin all my equipment. So they try and get in the cage all day long. I have to like open up the cage and move my lights in order for them to even come in. Maybe one day.
So
I'll
every
just
now
fix
and
the camera
then
on that.
your dog owners let you out.
Yes.
Do they walk you?
Yeah. When we go to breaks and I have to use the restroom, I just yell to my wife to come let me out of the cage.
Wow.
Yeah. Little baby. All right, well, let's get into it. Warlock versus Spell Druid.
Yeah. This is a matchup that hasn't been very kind to the Warlock lately, and the more I see the high-level players go at it, I feel like Druid's the overwhelming favorite. I feel like, if anything, the Warlock numbers might be overperforming, but of course that's just because my reaction to it is just Warlock feels so powerless when Druid gets the ideal hand, and they will get the ideal hand a handful of times. Muzzy already off to a very good start, having Overgrowth into a potential Glowfly Swarm. And if the Glowfly Swarm gets answered, he still has the Overflow to go next turn, but he would have to be a little bit concerned with overdrawing.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer instead is just to Wrath Cycle here and just kind of set something else up if he doesn't want to play Glowfly Swarm. I still like it.
It's hard to kind of get better than that in a lot of scenarios, especially considering just how much removal this Warlock deck packs. Every time you play Glowfly Swarm, you have to worry about Dark Skies, you have to worry about Plague of Flames, you have to worry about Crazed Netherwing, you have to worry about the Moag Artificer plus the Rain of Fire.
Oh my.
There's just so many combinations of removal for Glowfly Swarm that you can never really expect to wait and hope that the chances get better that it'll stick, unless like you're specifically waiting for Glowfly with Kael'thas or plus Soul of the Forest. So I like just ripping it there.
Yeah, this Overgrowth pickup though, that feels really good. Because now you have a lot more flexibility with your mana crystal in the following turn. He's gonna hit 10 mana, and Eddie's still stuck on 5.
That's brutal. Ramp Druid, man. What's the pickup?
Well, he has the ability to Rising Winds, go for an Overflow, and he has a guaranteed dump in the form of the Bog Beam.
Yep.
Chances are he might hold on to the Bog Beam if he can find a better alternative. He finds Moonfires, which is a much better dump, because the Bog Beam is better to have that 3 damage source in the back pocket alternatively. If Eddie can enlighten me as to how to take down these big boards,
well,
I'm all ears.
He's got layers of removal. He's pointing out the Galakron this turn to unlock Kronks as a board-wide removal.
He got Jiraxis!
Oh, wow. Nice! What he was really hoping for was the... I forgot the name of it. We saw it yesterday. The Batterhead Demon.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Because it's the 5/10. That can attack again after it kills many. That could have also been a board clear available. But he has Moag Artificer plus Rain of Fire. He also has Kronks.
Yeah.
Plague of Flames plus the Hero Power is good too.
For now, I guess he has to settle with a very intimidating board. Glowfly Swarm and Soul of the Forest. This is still very problematic for the Warlock to deal with. Does have the Kronk's AoE available to him, but that Solar 4 is making it very tricky. What can we do in this position?
He can go trade over one of the 2/2s with the Felguard. Moag Artificer, Rain of Fire.
Okay, I like that.
Hero Power Plague of Flames. Leaves 1 2/2 on the board.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to let Jiraxis die before at least getting like one more trade off.
Yeah, he could just freeze one. He could trade over one and then freeze one. But Moarg Artificer plus Rain of Fire, I feel like happens every time.
That's fair, yeah, because you do want to at least get through it. You have to get through the Death Rattle eventually.
Yeah, or Kronks, like one of the two. Kronks just damages your own minions way more, so
Right.
it feels a lot worse. And Kronks has way more flexibility than this specific scenario.
This was a slight misdamage, but not really that big of a deal.
I hope he got his hero power off.
Yeah, it looks
Okay,
like
he did.
did.
Did he get the Nether Breath off? Yep. All right.
And he's at full
Reasonable
health.
clear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of the worst is yet to come, though. Muzzy also, so Moarg Artificer. Now Muzzy. I wonder how he can capitalize on this situation. He does have exotic Mount Seller, and I think he's kind of been waiting on it for a little bit. But let's first. It looks like he first wants to see what Wrath will pick him up, unless he wants to go for a full tempo play here. The benefit of the exotic Mount Seller is that if you can clear off most of the board or everything of the board, your opponent's Plague of Flames is a lot weaker. And Mount Seller doesn't exactly get answered by a Kronk by itself.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't get answered by much, honestly, except for like the Plague of Flames full removal, which is very hard to come by. You need like multiple invokes in a turn, plus the hero power, plus the plague.
Yeah, so the Wrath ends up dealing 2 damage and cycling. I kind of wondered if he was going to use the Wrath and ways to get to just damage Jiraxis, but looks like Muzzy's just gonna go and press in for some direct damage. Now Eddie has that Kronks for the clear, or could go for that Plague of Flames like we talked about and redevelop.
Huh. That's one thing that I didn't realize earlier. That Eddie plays a natural Soulfire in the deck. Oh! I don't know what class this is good against, but it allows for a Alexstrasza turn 9, Craze Netherwing, Nether Breath, Soulfire turn 10. That's 15 damage.
Sure. I mean, a lot of times the deck can struggle with just a little bit of extra reach, and it sometimes is the difference maker. In this case, Eddie's going to just put that Soulfire in the back pocket, go for the Annihilation, 5 damage to everything. And Muzzy, of course, accounting for that possibility, not super duper surprised. And now, potentially, might make his move with that Mount Seller.
Yeah.
It's waited long enough.
I think it's time.
Yep.
So he's got to plan this out. So he can Moonfire one of the 1/1s. He can Bog Beam Wrath, the Kronks, and then he'd have a Crystal Power, 1 mana remaining.
Woof.
After that.
Desert Hair.
Hmm.
It does seem like he would favor that Wrath in this position, but the Crystal Power also is a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh
I think
my
he's just gonna...
gosh, what is happening? Is this Violet Teacher? Okay.
Ah, there we go. There's a Mukla. That balances things out a little bit. Alright, and a weaponized Wasp.
Yeah.
Oh, this is probably a Plague of Flames.
Oh, the Devoted Maniac. Yes, that is excellent.
So he could Devoted Maniac, Hero Power, Plague of Flames. He wouldn't have mana left over to do anything else. He could even sack pack one of the demons because he'd have six minions on board.
Yep, you'd be hard pressed from me to find a better alternative to that. Is there a more efficient way to do it than just having to give up the Devoted Maniac?
I don't think so. Actually, yes. Well, no, because the Devoted Maniac is the most efficient. What he can do is just Devoted Maniac trade Plague of Flames and Hero Power afterwards, so he's left with 2 1/1s on board. That seems like the most efficient way to do it. Because then you get to push 3, you Plague of Flames, and then you either Hero Power or play the Frozen Shadow Weaver.
Yeah, the Hero Power seems good given that you can't really draw cards right now, and you're running low on resources, so I think he's got to commit to this. And Muzzy is afraid. I would be too, because if I Fungal Fortunes and I discard Kael'thas, I feel like that's the chance for a Warlock to win. And we kind of talked up how Druid feels overwhelmingly favored in this position, in this matchup, but Eddie has done really well. He's gotten lucky when it counted, and Muzzy's also had a little bit of unfortunate situations where like his Mount Seller's not summoning anything, and he's not really drawing his power cards like Kael'thas early.
Yeah.
Woof.
At the same time, there's really not much to capitalize with Kael'thas anymore. There's no Gift of the Wild. There's no Glowfly Swarm.
Right.
There's really just Forest Aid as his only way to generate a board.
Super weak turn coming up from Muzzy, and this looks like Eddie has turned the corner.
Yep, this is a full board.
And now the Warlock counteroffensive, and it might not, there's probably not enough time here anymore for Muzzy to figure things out. To add insult to injury, he's just not picking up his minions, so if he plays Fungal Fortunes, he almost certainly will discard Kael'thas. But still only 3 out of 5, and even then, what's his long-term game plan? I think he might have to Fungal Fortunes and just get the Forest Aid.
Yeah. He got it, but I just don't feel like he has enough gas left in the tank.
Whoa!
Veiled Worshipper.
Big pickup. Nether
That'll
Breath.
probably lock it up.
Oh my gosh. I think he's done it. Eddie has won a matchup that looks very hard to win as the Warlock, but played to his outs, and overall has stayed calm throughout this entire process. This is a tough matchup.
Yeah, even another Veiled Worshipper. He is kind of out of removal, and Muzzy does have one more wave. But it seems like he just has like enough. He'll have almost enough attack just on board to get it done. And I would probably trade 1, but ship the 4 to upstairs from the Shield of Galakron. I mean, at this point, you might as well just stay safe and trade. I don't think it really matters. You're not going to kill him.
Your opponent is down to their second last card, and you might just squeeze them out of the game here. It doesn't seem like Muzzy can do much.
I'm almost out of cards.
And with
Kael'thas is the last card.
Kael'thas already discarded.
Oh, he discarded. Okay. Sorry. The deck tracker, because he plays his whole deck, it's just all squished. Kael'thas is squished in between the Glowfly Swarm and the Exotic Mount Seller.
All right,
What is his last card?
Yeah, Eddie will dunk this with the Creation of the Wing. I'm not sure what his last card is, and I don't think... I don't even think Muzzy could choose any one card that could bail him out of the situation. I think if it was Deathwing himself, he'd still be struggling.
Yeah,
That's
Dragon Queen
going to do
Alexstrasza.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
Sure. So with that, game number 2 in the books. Eddie in a really good position to take this series. Now down to his final deck. And looks like he's just going to have to play Demon Hunter, and Muzzy's going to have to beat it 3 times, which is going to be really tricky because Demon Hunter doesn't really lose very easily.
No.
Warrior might be one of those matchups that's good for Muzzy. I'm just worried about things like the Druid and the Mirror because that's never reliable.
Yeah, it's the combo Demon Hunter for both. So the combo Demon Hunter Mirror is something we may end up seeing. Muzzy really wants to see it because if he wants to win the series and at least stay alive in the group, he needs to keep winning to find that mirror. But yeah, I think this matchup is a little bit better even against Druid because you have things like Immolation Aura, which can deal with an early Glowfly Swarm without having to worry about trading in your whole board or using Altruis. But we'll see. We'll see. I think Eddie, given 3 chances to win with combo Demon Hunter, is an overwhelming favorite in the matchup. I mean, we talked about the math yesterday about how favored you have to be against that deck to beat it 3 times in a row, and I just don't think there's 3 decks that exist that beat combo Demon Hunter that often. Because it is a strong deck, and it's tough to pilot, but in the hands of a good pilot, it's very, very good, and they can find creative ways to win at every turn.
Yeah, totally. And I think that we will see some of that potentially if we can get to that point in the series. But Muzzy is going to start things off with a pretty decent hand. Meanwhile, Eddie going to try to see if he can pressure the Warrior, but you know, having the very sad Crimson Soda Runner that can't activate Outcast just quite yet. But he's got a good setup for it. He can Chaos Strike on 2, and then play Soda Runner on 3, then set up for the Gul'dan on 6. Oh my goodness, Spectral Sight off the top of the deck. That's even better.
That's even better.
Yep.
Now he has Chaos Strike Crimson Shield Runner on next turn.
Right.
And can just keep that card draw going. Inner Demon drawing this early, that's a little rough just because it's going to interrupt some of those Outcast cards. But luckily he already has that Skull of Gul'dan, which means that it's not going to get blocked by Inner Demon. He just has to wait till it has the 6 mana to cast it.
Yeah, you know, interesting enough, Muzzy coining out the Vile Fiend, that wasn't exactly something that I was thinking about. I usually try to save the coin in case I want to like go for a Blastmaster Boom or something, but it looks like Muzzy really prioritized getting that early game tempo out. And seeing it in practice, it's really awesome. Getting that 3-5 super early so your opponent can't deal with it.
You start to bank a lot of pressure with that thing. Okay, so Consume Magic. I do believe Eddie plays 2. Yep, he plays 2. There can be some situations that you run into where you want to hold on to it to like get through a taunt when you're going for lethal in the later stages, but the only taunts that Muzzy has is those injured Tolvirs. And those are pretty small, so he's not too worried about those. He just wants to kind of draw through his deck. I mean, that's the goal here, right? You just find Kael'thas and then try and find the lethal damage. For Muzzy, it seems like it's going to be about, 1, trying to pressure, sure, but also there's a chance that he can armor out of range of the total amount of damage that Eddie can do.
Right.
Because the deck is limited in damage, even though it does recurring damage over turns, and obviously, like the maximum combo potential of the deck is insane, because you can add in Altruis into the mix. If you're given infinite time to curate your hand and draw every card in your deck, you can do so much damage. That's not always the case because of things like this, where you just get smacked with the rampaged Vile Fiend, Imprisoned Vile Fiend, and you just run out of time quickly.
Yeah, this is really tricky because Eddie had already used his Consume Magic, so Muzzy feels a lot safer of just like committing resources to try to pressure.
Yeah. Also, one thing to point at, a deck that wants to draw its entire deck, or very close to its entire deck, is very susceptible to bomb damage, because they're almost certainly going to hit the bombs at some point in the game before they kill you. So that Wrench Caliber is could be a big deal as this game progresses. Eddie just hoping that he can find a way to deal with the Vile Fiend next turn. He has Altruist, maybe, but I guess he could throw Kane into it.
Yeah, I think that's probably his game plan, or just going for double Immolation Aura. But I mean, this Blood Boil Brute coming in, it's just another threat.
Yeah,
it
push
is
another
so
10.
Powerful. And Eddie's in a tough spot now. Double Eldraki Warblades.
Yep, double Immolation Aura, but still leaves the Brute on board.
Right. And Eddie just trying to get some semblance of tempo onto the board here.
Ooh.
So with the Risky Skipper, Muzzy does have the opportunity to draw half his card, or sorry, 5 cards here. So Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, and the Sky Raider.
I think 4 max, right? Because if he plays 3 minions, his Brute dies, and his Risky Skipper dies.
Well, he plays Risky Skipper, and then Armor Smith, and Skywatcher, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that'd be 4 minions on the board.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. Either way, he's drawing forward 2 5 cards, TJ.
There's also a world where he just pressures. He waits a turn,
like
he takes
Wrench
one less
Caliber.
card and just equips a Wrench Caliber and it hits him.
Yeah.
But it's going to take the 5 here, and I mean, this just gets him closer. One, at armor's at range, just in case like Eddie has to desperately go for combo this turn and needs every point of damage to deal 31.
Wow, yeah.
But he can't.
He can't. He doesn't have enough time, and Altruist can't even activate because of Kael'thas. Very unfortunate pan out here for Eddie. If he's Skull of Gul'dan, he would also basically be forced just to get the, like... No, he can't. He already used Immolation Aura. I don't know what he can even draw here. Oof. And I think this last draw will confirm to us that indeed Eddie is dead. That is a deady Eddie.
That seems like a tough matchup. You're taking damage, and then even if you get past the point where you've gotten the board, you have to worry about bombs in the later stages. Muzzy not even needing bombs, didn't even equip the Wrench Caliber at any point in that game, just relying on board and minions and rampage, and seems like he has a good understanding of how that matchup's supposed to go. It's not like Eddie had a terrible pan out. I mean, he didn't have like Twin Slice to be able to like maybe try and go off with Kael'thas in the late game, or Altruist to clear. But he had a good sequence of draws early on. He had his Skull of Gul'dan in the right position for Outcast, even after drawing those cards. Double Immolation Order to kind of deal with early aggression, but still was not able to get there. So it seems like a poor matchup.
Does seem like kind of a poor matchup, but overall not the end of the world there, because I think Eddie had anticipated that this was going to be a little bit trickier. It's up to Eddie to try, see if he can take down the other matchups. Hopefully it doesn't come down to the mirror. If it comes down to the mirror, I think that's when things start to get really scary for him, because at that point, Muzzy's chance to win is, theoretically 50%. So,
yep,
he's in a really dominant position still, and I think he's going to close this one out.
isn't over between us.
I'm trying to look at the differences between their decks and the mirror matchup, but they are, I think you said card for card the same, right?
I don't know if it's card for card the same. We are a little bit on a delay, and I've been trying to use like the deck list on the Play Hearthstone website, so we do have to kind of pair it together.
I think they are.
Looks very similar.
Yeah.
Looks
like they are.
Very similar.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that if we get to that point. Now we have Muzzy on the Spell Druid and Eddie on that combo Demon Hunter once again. So saving the mirror matchup for last, if it must come to that from Muzzy's perspective. Let's see how he's going to fare with the Spell Druid. I feel like Muzzy's had some rough games on the Spell Druid today. Just overall.
Yeah. Yeah, the Spell Druid for Muzzy in particular, just things haven't lined up in a very clean way. It feels as if he just hasn't had the ideal power turn. He's just kind of had to improvise based off of what's given into his hand and play it. And just kind of hope that he's able to get enough damage and hold out long enough for him to get bigger, powerful combos, except they just never really connected. If anything, he's just kind of been very unfortunate so far playing the Spell Druid today.
Yep. And holy moly, that's a lot of draw from Eddie's perspective.
Jeez. Yeah, Crystal Sigil Runner followed by Spectral Sight into another Sigil Runner. Yeah. Both players do have card draw. It seems like Muzzy, without the ability to coin into the Glowfly Swarm, though, does give Eddie lots of time to get set up here. Oh my goodness, that's an overgrowth.
Oh yeah. That's
Mushroom power.
Still though, Eddie's gonna keep drawing cards. He even has another Gale Strike. Void Mage Thalnos. Okay. Mana Burn could be useful.
Yeah, particularly because you get to use it. But jeez, Eddie's drawn through half his deck in 4 turns.
Yikes. Still missing the Kael'thas though. I would say that's a key piece of the puzzle. All right.
Ooh,
do you
go look at the difference of having the mana versus not.
Yeah.
But it's still a good Glowfly Swarm.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing he can do. I guess you just have to. I guess he doesn't have to, but... Maybe it feels bad to just give it up to one Immolation Aura. He can wait 1 turn and go off with Exotic Mount Seller, and then if that gets removed, then you go Glowfly Swarm plus Soul of the Forest. There's some merit to holding it. But
yeah, and
also,
he's not at 10 cards, so he still could just pass.
Good hero power pass.
Time waits for no one.
I like it. I think you should just still like force things out of your opponent because, one, you don't know if they have it or not, but just don't let them get the ideal turn. Right? What if like the card to the right of the coin was Skola Gul'dan and he didn't do anything?
Yeah.
Just give them chances to draw a bunch of cards.
Demons.
A lot of times I think that's something that people perhaps should continue to value. You know, if they're like at the intermediate level of play, thinking about ways you can disrupt your opponent, even if it's not the ideal way to line up your cards, can sometimes be just as impactful as having the actual nuts.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Something, you know, one, we don't often talk about, but players don't often do or think about.
So Blood Mage Thanos hits the board here. Muzzy has free reign now. Finally, the Mount Seller can unleash the beast.
All right, let's see. Let's see what's in the box. Start off with a Bog Beam.
These are more of a series of packages, TJ. Yeah, box per se.
It's one big box that contains a lot of little packages.
So, like the production setup you mailed me.
I didn't mail it to you. I got mailed the same one.
How wide does Buzzy want to go? There's a Power of the Wild available for him here, and can just relax at that point. And that is a sizable amount of power on the board.
Time waits for no one.
He could also bog beam his exotic mountain seller, yeah, and then play Power of the Wild to get one extra beast.
Sure.
Maybe he's trying to calculate whether or not he's going to have, like, lethal.
Right. And it also works like if he gets another wow, another albatross.
Yeah, a Zixor. Nice.
This is looking tough.
And he's only on 6 mana.
I know.
Like, there's not even much he can do. He can consume magic. It's not outcast, so obviously he won't draw a card, but it'll take some power off the board and obviously get rid of that exotic mount seller as a value generation tool for Muzzy. And then he would coin the skull, yeah, because he'd have enough space. He'd have to.
Yeah, what a big difference it is to play against the tempo variant of the Demon Hunter compared to the combo variant. Combo Demon Hunter takes a long time to get set up and gives plenty of time for their opponent to mass up an army like this.
Alas, poor warlock. Time grows short.
And I'm not sure if Eddie can withstand this kind of pressure. There's going to be more coming down the other way when Muzzy has his turn. He's going to have Soul of the Forest to make his board even sturdier.
Yeah. He also has some draws for lethal, whether it be second Power of the Wild or is that Savage Roar? Yep, that'll do it.
Yep, so that's going to wrap it up. Muzzy ties it up 2 games apiece. And we are going to go to Game 5 for a chance to find out who will play Saiyan in the lower bracket finals.
Yep.
All right, so with that, that sets up the final game. Muzzy, I believe his mage was banned, so it's going to be a Demon Hunter Mirror. Wow.
Combo Demon Hunter Mirror. Ah, yes. There's some nuance to this. Mostly it's in the deck building phase, where you can choose to run like the Shadow Weaver to go for the freeze, to try and interrupt. But a lot of times that's played in tempo DH to interrupt that, or like Warlock. I see one player with Kael'thas in their opening hand. Now that is sometimes can be a tough choice because it means you have to. You're banking on going off with Kael'thas earlier because it does shut off, especially if you keep it in that position where it is right now, it shuts off that entire side of your hand from Outcast.
Yeah, so the Kael'thas is super important, as you were mentioning. Eddie going first also is a nice little boon for him as well. But without any actual things to play, that is kind of annoying. And so for Muzzy, I think he'd want to hold on to that coin as long as he can. Spectral Sight off the top, very nice. And this matchup can be really fast and furious. I've seen it go really quickly sometimes, even though it feels like not a lot's happening. We've also seen people like play stuff and try to, like, one of the hardest parts is hand management. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's awkward because now, like, almost both sides of his hands are cut off from Outcast. At least for like that Spectral Sight, because you don't want to really play Twin Slice. That's not a card you want to dump. Because that's what allows you to play the Inner Demon for free. Or the Skull of Gul'dan for free. Just a single card that brings those down to 0 mana. So that probably the worst draw in Eddie's deck. I think it's just kind of what Muzzy did here is draw with the Spectral Sight for one card. He could also just equip the Eldrazi Warblades just to spend the mana.
The Warblades is more mana efficient. It's probably the one thing that I like. Again, dumping your hand is going to be something that's kind of important. Think of it very similar to how people played Freeze Mage, or people how the Freeze Mage mirrors, or how they played the Holy Wrath Paladin mirrors.
Yeah, you just try and be as mana efficient as possible, and dump cards that aren't necessary in the matchup.
Interesting. Complete pass.
Jeez. Okay.
That's
like
interesting.
I just don't know when he's ever going to play that Spectral Sight for two cards. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. I'd like to see it just cycled there with that extra 2 mana.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing with Muzzy and the Crimson Cinder runner, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's never going to draw a card.
Yeah, just dump it.
Get it out. I guess there is a case for it if he ends up playing things like the Altruist and he goes for big damage instead that way. Then there's like use of holding on to Spectral Sight so that you can get the second card draw source off of it. But universally, I would agree with you in most situations.
Okay, Eddie just deciding to play this one very slow. And Kane is pretty much just a card that... in a lot of matchups, you just kind of dump 4 mana, you just play it on board, hit him for 3. In some matchups, it's crucial to be a part of like the lethal puzzle matchups that play a lot of top minions that you can account for, like Resurrect Priest, for instance. Sometimes Kane is needed to get the full combo off in combination with Kael'thas.
He's doing it. He's gonna draw with the Spectral Sight, values that extra card draw instead of the one copy of a 0 mana spell.
Yeah.
I guess because he doesn't have Kael'thas in hand, he can't rely on that right now. He says like, I can get to that point of the game if I get Kael'thas in my hand. So I think with that in mind, it's not entirely unreasonable to consider that.
Sure, but it also just didn't allow him to plan as much, since he would have been 1 card deeper. It could have affected like how he plans out his turns for the future.
Oh, totally. I understand it from your perspective.
Yeah. Is it worth dumping a mana burn here for the Crimson Sigil runner? Mana burn can sometimes be... it's kind of like the... like the timeout almost, a much weaker timeout in the Holy Wrath. No, it's not like timeout. I'm trying to equate it to other combo decks. Maybe like a Frost Nova in Freeze Mage, but then Freeze Mage didn't care about minions, so it's not like a Frost Nova. Help me out here, Dan. Give me an analogy for another combo deck. What is Mana Burn similar to?
Mana Burn?
Equate it to another combo deck.
There's like Lotheb moments where like you try to stop your opponent from being able to play certain things. There's been Boom Pistol Bully's been kind of impactful in some decks to try and mess with people's stuff. Yeah,
I guess Lotheb in the days of old, trying to shut off Freeze Mage turns.
Yeah, it's like Miracle Rogue would like play Lotheb and try to stop other combos from happening while they can combo. I do feel like Mana Burn is a really high skill cap card though. People a lot of times just kind of throw it away. It's like, oh, it's like a 1 mana card. I can just like get it out of my hand, or like I can possibly like use it to activate Kael'thas, and those are all true. But the timing of Mana Burn seems to be increasingly more important, and it completely fluctuates based off of what you are playing around.
Demons.
Muzzy really hammering in whether or not he wants to attack. Skull Gul'dan off the top. That's exactly what Eddie's been looking for.
Hits some pretty good stuff. Hits just more chain of card draw here.
Right.
Also an argument to hold on to these for Altruist, but the problem is that Inner Demon is blocking off the Altruist.
I hope you like my invention.
All right, there's the second Aldraki Warblades. Looks like he's thinking of cycling to consume magic. So Eddie is much deeper into his deck than Muzzy is, but Muzzy has the Kael'thas. So, like at any point, it could flip on its head. Like Muzzy might even, let's say he draws Twin Slice off the top. There's a good argument for Muzzy to just go in next turn with Kael'thas. Problem is hand size, but well, that's a consume magic of his own. Starting to get awkward. Muzzy kept the Skull of Gul'dan and Kael'thas, and those have just been kind of dead in his hand. Obviously, you know, those are key pieces of the combo, but he's drawn through over half his deck right now and still hasn't played it. Those could have been changed out for other card draw, and he would have hit those by now. He just would have had more efficient draw through his deck.
Yeah, he still could get a Kael'thas turn right now, but it wouldn't be. It would be a dead end because like he could play the Crystal Runner and then like coin Kael'thas into something. But like I said, it's not something that you want to be looking for right now because you only can chain one.
Yeah.
So for Eddie's perspective, what can we pull off here? I guess the Chaos Strike, he's been holding on for the Kael'thas possibility, but his hand's too full, and we've talked about this, having hand size issues.
He could just go like Chaos Strike and attack, re-equip the Aldraki Warblades. I think the Chaos Strike and the cheap stuff is for the Altruist that's over on the side. He wants a Kael'thas plus Altruist because I think he knows that. Also, Chaos Strike, he played a Twin Slice already. He only has the second slice, so like his ability, he needs that extra 0 mana spell to keep discounting. Once Kael'thas is drawn, since he's used the first Twin Slice copy already.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But 7 cards left in deck, still hasn't picked it up.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised that, like, because I would also consider the Aldrachi Warblades being a candidate to dump as well. And choosing not to attack.
I don't know if he chose that or if he just ran out of time.
So a lot of the breakpoints, a lot of the times you're looking at breakpoints in combo mirrors. You're trying to think, like, how much damage do I really need to get over the hump? And in the Demon Hunter deck specifically, the breakpoint is 25. Yeah. When you start to use your inner demons to combo.
Yeah.
And now Eddie, with his opponent's at 27, is going to be short. So even if he did find Kael'thas, he's not going to get there. That's assuming, that's very generous, assuming Muzzy won't be able to heal himself or mana burn to mess with him.
He didn't hit a spell, so.
Oh, wow.
He just loses, right? Kael'thas is gone. He has no way to OTK anymore.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, this is an awkward game from both perspectives. Eddie, his Kael'thas. What?
Could he I-beam his own Thanos?
If he I-beamed his own Thanos,
he would have had another draw.
Oh yeah, he could have picked up Twin Slice.
Yeah.
No, but then it would have stopped because he would have Twin Sliced twice, then Skull of Gul'dan, and not picked up.
No, he Twin Sliced once. Well, the idea is that he could have kept the play semi-alive by doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of the 2-1, instead of using it onto the Sigil Runner.
Yeah.
These kinds of mirrors are like super elaborate as well. So like if you this is like part of the reason why streamers like Zalay and Firebat and all of them really love playing this deck, because it's just there's a lot to think about. They are super complex with how you're supposed to be approaching them.
I grow impatient.
Muzzy does have this this out of the Zephyrs, though. And that is a possibility that he could find to potentially close this game.
Oh, the next card was
Dude,
Twin
the next
Slice.
card was Twin Slice.
Oh, jeez.
TJ.
Yeah, because now Eddie's going off. I don't know. This has been an oddly played mirror, I have to say.
It's just been an oddly played series of games in the sense that like they don't pan out the way you expect them to. Like, you have like a certain set of expectations of like, okay, this is the way you're supposed to be finishing the game.
Oof. How much damage is this? 7 with the just on board. Altruist, Twin Slice, Second Slice, that's 8, 9, 10, 11.
I grow impatient.
Zephyrus?
12 plus Zephyrus. Yeah, that's lethal, because Zephyrus will give you Fireball.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so you Altruist, Twin Slice. No, because you need the Metamorph. Can it give you Lava Burst stuff? Yeah. So you Altruist, Twin Slice, Metamorphosis hit face, Eldrachi Warblades, Zephyrus Lava Burst, and that's exactly 18. So let's count it again. Okay, so he has Metamorphosis is 5.
Right,
okay.
that's 5.
He plays Altruist.
Okay.
Twin Slice and Second Slice are both 2 damage each, so that's 4, so that's 9. Eldrachi Warblades is 10.
Okay.
Zephyrus is 11.
Okay.
And then
you have 3 mana left.
3 mana left. Oh no, it's 17. Right?
Poor warlock.
Yeah, it was 17.
Burn away to ash.
Okay, so Altruist plus the 2 Twin Strikes. Yeah, I think it might have been one off. It might have been one off, or it might have been exactly. I don't think we have that much time, unfortunately, to like calculate it. But it was very close either way.
No, it was exact. It was exact. Yeah,
I'm gonna trust you on that, TJ.
because okay, I'm gonna go through it. You have 7 on board with just the Eldrachi Warblades and Metamorphosis. Okay.
Okay.
So that's 1 mana. So then you play Altruist. So that's 4. You've used 4 mana.
Right.
Demons.
You Twin Slice. That deals 2 extra damage. So that's 9 damage. Then you Second Slice. That deals 2 extra damage. So that's 11 damage.
Okay.
Grows short.
Then you play Zephyrus.
Zephyrus does damage himself. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
So Zephyrus does damage. You play Eldrachi Warblades. It doesn't matter. It's 0 mana.
that
And then
was
you
the
play
missing
Zephyrus,
damage.
which
Okay.
does damage itself. And so then you've used what?
You've used 6 out of your 9 mana crystals.
6 out of your 9 mana crystals, and then you Lava Burst, and that does
you Lava
6
Burst,
because
it
it's
does
also
6.
the far right card,
Yes.
and so that's 18.
Cards left.
Okay. That is 18. And I mean, Muzzy definitely has it now, right?
Probably, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to the hand
I
because
mean, he just found another Twin Slice. There's
okay,
no
he
way
just found
doesn't
another Twin
have it.
Slice. Yeah. This is just
Wow. And on the turn that Eddie had found Kael'thas as well. This was strange. This was a weird mirror, and like Eddie also was in a life deficit, and he needed to equip Eldrachi Warblades. I think this one requires thorough evaluation.
no, because we're assuming that Zephyrus is going to offer Lava Burst, which it's not, because it's not lethal. Unless Zephyrus recognizes the effect of Altruist, which it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay. It would give him like Van Cleef or something.
It would
right?
give him Van Cleef. It would give him Van Cleef. It would give him a proactive play for next turn, right? Like mind control. I don't know.
Like a Tyrion.
Because he would Zephyrus would say 3 mana left. The opponent's at 6.
Was there a way to manipulate that so that you could play Zephyrus earlier? I don't think so.
No. So I don't want to call it a miss lethal because it's assuming that Zephyrus would give Lava Burst.
Right. So Zephyrus miss lethal.
Yeah, that was a Zephyrus miss lethal. That was us assuming that Zephyrus would not be smart enough to get lethal in that situation.
Huh. Well, that was definitely a head scratcher. These kinds of mirrors are tough, and like we said, it's an unusual game. It's difficult even for the players in the seats. Muzzy's like scratching his head. Both players are roping down every single turn. But at the end of the series, we have 2 players remaining. Saiyan versus Muzzy is going to be coming up next with only 1 player going through to the top 4 on Sunday. So with that, I believe we're going to roll straight into the last match and get ready for Sane and Muzzy to play. It was quite a long series. Yeah. We've had a lot of games today, DJ. A lot of them go to Game 5.
Yeah, a lot of grueling ones too, like priest matchups. But it is going to be kind of like they still live together, so it's like a house cup for this lower bracket finals.
It's like a show match.
Like a show match, yeah. They can, meet up in the kitchen afterwards to talk about it. But one player is going to be eliminated and not be able to move on to tomorrow, and one player is going to go to that semifinals, have a chance to get first place and rack those 6 points.
All right, so with that, we're going to get ready for the next match. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have more action here at the Hearthstone Grandmasters for America, so stay tuned.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.